Okay.
Welcome, 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 everybody. This is Romano. Cal's not here. It's all right. I'm holding the fort. We're all good. This is Inspired Conversations. We have a very, very special guest today. This guy, Jason Parks, is actually my mentor. So Jason has been mentoring me for about 18 months now and got me from a place of struggle into flow, abundance, ease, grace, up-leveled me, upskilled me. He's the one who introduced so much goodness to me in relationship sovereignty. This guy is the jam. Now, if you're going to look for Jason on social media, forget it, right? He's not there. He's like the secret little key to probably the biggest practitioners and healers of the world. He is our little secret behind the scenes. This is the guy. So every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., this is the guy that I talk to that keeps my shit together. He not just keeps my shit together, he energetically looks after me, he spiritually looks after me, but he emotionally is really there for me. And this is what we need. But also that he educates me. So Jason's the real deal. So I would love to introduce Jason Parks. Hello, Jason. Oh, that was the dog.
Hi, Emma.
Sorry. The dog just barked. We're at home here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's all right. Mine will go off in a minute.
Jason, welcome. Welcome to Inspired Conversations.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is very cool. So Jason and I were having, what's today? Friday morning. We had our session on Tuesday and we're talking about the pain body, we're talking about ego, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. And I said to him, I really feel let's get on a podcast and just share with the world what the pain body is, what the ego is, what things are in our, what makes up who we are as humans and spiritual beings. Because I think it's important. And I think once you master the understanding of self, then you can go into the practice of mastering who you want to become in this world, right? So we're going to help you guys out here today. So Jason, can you please explain in your awesome way what the ego is compared to the pain body?
Okay.
Am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, that's all right.
Yes.
Well, I suppose the thing about it is that the ego is really the sense of self. Now, we've got to have one because we've got to walk around in the world and we've got to interact with people. Yep. So without that, if we didn't have that, we'd just be like a kind of a consciousness, but it'd be like a newborn baby. There's no real sense of self there. They're just interacting with the environment. And so part of where we get caught up in it, because particularly like if you're trying to do something with your life and you want to be successful, whether you want to be, successful in your business or your family or athlete or something like that, it said ego is a big deal. It said you've got to cultivate ego, because the thing about ego is if you don't have a sense of self that's stable, so you can't build on anything. Said you're constantly buffeted by external forces, and most of those external forces are other people's pain body agenda. So that will.
Could you explain what the pain body is then, please?
Yeah. So I might give the bit of a bigger picture.
Go for it.
Pull it down. So basically, what I see working with people energetically is that, like, when people come into the world, they are essentially, we have source, and from source there's a thread that's sent down, and that thread, its purpose is to expand reality. That's what it's for. It's got to create, it's got to build bigger things, but most importantly, it needs to observe that creation, because the observation of what you create is how source increases. So that thread, I term that spirit. I like to keep my language as simple as possible. So I call that spirit. So spirit, when it comes down, it has all the power of creation, because it is source. It's a thread of source. And the problem that comes with that is like, where do you start? Where do you focus? So when spirit comes in and lives lives and goes back out, it'll do that many, many times. And as it does, sometimes it gets damaged. It identifies with the pain, the suffering, the trauma, and starts to think that's what it is. And when it goes at death, when it passes back up into source, not all of it can go. And when that bit of damaged spirit is there, it becomes what they term earthbound. And that earthbound spirit, when we talk about things like rebirth and reincarnation and all that sort of stuff and near death experience, he said that's actually what we're talking about. He said that aspect. So that aspect that doesn't get to return straight back to source, but goes into the afterlife, that's the soul. So when the spirit and soul come together, they team up. So the soul allows all of these things to be created and all of these lessons to be observed. And for it, it gets to create. And by creating, it heals. And as it heals, it starts to remember itself. And the more that it remembers itself, the more that it's reconnecting itself to source. So ultimately, it goes through that many, many times until it can transcend that process and then return to source in its entirety. And then basically do it all again. So that's sort of, yep.
I love that. Let's go back to ego, because I think people
Yep.
think ego is really bad, but there's parts of it, we need ego.
Absolutely.
We have to have ego. We have to have drive. We have to have, it keeps us in our three-dimensional body. Because we've got to remember, like, there's a lot of healers and spiritual people who listen to this podcast, and they're like, I want to dissolve my ego. Wait, no, you don't. Because it'll keep you. We need our ego. Can you explain the difference of why we need some of our ego? Because I always think there's healthy ego and then there's shit ego, right? So,
well, yeah.
Do you want to explain that for me?
Well, this thing we're talking about, this soul and spirit come together. So that's the soul contract. When people talk about a soul contract, that's the soul contract. And to just compress the middle bit really quickly, it said that soul contract finds a genetic line that'll do what it wants to do. It manipulates the DNA of the baby as it forms. And when you come out, you are purpose built. You are soul contract built. Every cell of your body is aligned with that. But because you're made out of DNA, and that is the positive aspect of ego. Because you're made out of DNA records information. And the best things to record in DNA are like trauma. So you've got trauma, conditioning, you've got all this other rubbish. And that is the pain body. And that amalgamates onto this. It hangs onto it like a parasite. So when we come together and we have a sense of self, our sense of self is really all the aspects of the positive ego is all the aspects of the soul contract, and the negative ego is the pain body.
Yeah.
But when we put them all together, that's sense of self. That's who we think we are.
And this is where, anything that's dis-ease in our lives, especially, any relationship. And when I speak about relationships, guys, what I mean is, I don't mean like husband, wife or anything. I mean relationship with everything. What is your relationship with self, with money, with God, with your past, with your mum, your brother, whatever? If there is a dis-ease in there, it's because the pain body is out to play. The pain body is sitting there going, hey, listen, there's too much trauma here. There's too much pain. And that needs to be resolved and dissolved.
Yeah.
That's what it has to. And when we're aware of that, because the minute we go into that blame, like, oh, she said this or she said that, we actually miss the door. There's a door opening for us to say, hey, there's a wound here. And when there's a wound, that's the opportunity of a beautiful light to come through it and heal it. But if we blame somebody else, we've closed the door on that opportunity to heal it, because they've just given that power to somebody else. And this is where I always talk about triggers. Triggers, people hate being triggered. I love being triggered because, I love being triggered because it shows me where I need to heal next, and then I can up level next. And whereas most people go, oh no, it's because of this, it's because of that. Because the minute you say because, you've lost that opportunity. And this is why I've been working with Jason for so long. It's like, you know, I'll pay Jason for a certain amount of time, and then I've just done, this is our third lot of mentoring, isn't it? Is our third? Yeah. I go in again. I've never done that with a mentor before, by the way. I usually do my time and then I go right next. I've never signed up 3 times in a row with one mentor. And it's because there's something about mentors I also want to put in here. Mentors have to do the work on themselves too. Mentors have to up level, because if I'm up leveling, my mentor has to double up level, because I can't catch up. I'm not supposed to catch up to him or her. Do you get me? So you have to up level. And that's where Jason is amazing at what he does. And that's where also Jason helps me come out of that victim mentality, or he won't let me skip that opportunity to heal or to grow or to up level myself. And it's so important. And I thank you for that, Jason. It's amazing.
Yes, well.
Because, you know, some big shit happened to me this year. Some really big shock things have happened to me. And, you know, Jason's great at going, okay, you know, I'll be bawling my eyes out. Like, like a bitch, blah, blah, right? And Jason's like, let's go back, go back, go back, go back. Let's go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Because what I want to make really clear, if shit's happening to you now, it's usually a pattern that has been repeated that needs to be healed from childhood. Or it's a pain in the body that needs to be healed from childhood. And it'll just play out in a different way, right? So one of my big things was that I've been working with Jason, I'm pretty good at it now, is this: when I'm in a trauma response, I fawn. So I people please. And I don't quite know I'm doing it until all of a sudden I become very tired and I get cranky. Because I've lost myself. I've lost myself in somebody else. And it's kind of too late. So now what's really great, and why I tell you this story, everyone, is this: you are more in control of yourself than you ever even realized. And this is the beauty of it. Once you can master yourself and go, I'm triggered. What in me needs to be healed right now? Because we can't get somebody else to stop triggering us. We can't tell our mother, stop nagging us. We can't tell the next door neighbor to stop parking there or whatever it is. But we can dissolve the wound in us. Like, what does it mean to you that they're saying that to you? And this is huge. This is where you can become sovereign. And my idea of sovereign is I choose who I am. I choose what I think. I choose how I respond. I choose how I feel. I choose how I do life. I don't react from somebody else's words or actions. I don't do that. I do it sovereignly, do it for me. And that's what Jason's been teaching me. And this is where we wanted to give you just a little bit of education on the parts of you that get triggered, right? So it's soul, spirit, ego, pain body. There's something, Jason, that you said to me ages ago, and you said the spirit observes and the soul does. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Could you explain that, please?
The thing about the soul, what's so amazing about the soul is that the soul, in order to heal itself, which is its only focus. And if people say, like, we've got it all caught up in purpose nowadays. There's this idea that if you don't know what your purpose is, you should just sit on the lounge and keep gaming until it becomes clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's nonsense. I said, your purpose is very simple. You got to heal your soul.
That's right.
But the soul heals by creating. So it's going to create everything in your life. I said, it'll create a home, it'll create a family, it'll create friendship circles, it'll create a platform for you to be able to reach other people. It'll create cash flow. It'll create, pets will come into your life. I said it'll just create everything that creates that warmth and healing. But in that, see, the spirit doesn't care. The spirit is irrelevant. And this is one thing. I used to be in a spiritual tradition. And the thing
Hang
about
on, you have to give a little bit more story about where you were spiritually because this is cool as shit. Go for it.
I used to be a civil monk in a Buddhist organization for 5 years, and I was a Shaolin disciple. So that's got to do with Shaolin Temple in China. Yep, the Todong family.
This is
So
amazing.
yeah, so it's grumpy. So, yeah, it's not fluffy and kind. But it's a very deep spiritual tradition, and the spiritual work is everything. So
Mm,
one of its ethics, like one of the things I liked about it was it had at a time where there was a lot of like when people think about Buddhist traditions, they think about monks begging,
mm.
and within that tradition, they got a standard rule. It's an absolute foundation, and it says no work, no food, and it's contribution. It said you shouldn't expect people to carry you. It said if you can't deliver, then you should go hungry because you need to deliver. It's nobody's job to create for you. You can create yourself. You're denying your
Oh,
own
that's
capacity.
so interesting. Like that is so clever because I look at people who are like stuck. Oh, I haven't got this, I haven't got that, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. It's because you haven't contributed and you haven't created it.
Exactly right. What
But you
value are
are
you offering?
creating that you've got nothing.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
We are
Yeah,
creators. We're
yeah,
creating, even if we're doing nothing, we're still creating.
yeah, yeah. It's a navigation problem. So
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
yeah, people think it's a power thing. It's like I've got no power. So it's not you don't have any power.
Mm,
It's that you don't know how to steer.
mm,
Said you keep just recreating the same hopelessness again and
yeah.
again and again. So and that's the thing. But that's where we sort of come back to the pain body. But the thing about the spirit, the spiritual practice, is that the spirit observes. So, and I always say, and it's an awful example, but it works, is that the thing about a spirit will hold a puppy or kill a puppy, and they're just things to observe. It
Wow.
doesn't matter, right? To the soul, hold a puppy heals it. Kill the puppy is devastating. It is
Yeah.
damaging. And so, from that perspective, it's just like we got to understand we're both of those people. It said we're an amalgamation. We are not this idea of self. Who am I? I? What do you mean I? Who is us?
Mm. Yeah,
Right? Who is
yeah,
us is a good
yeah,
question,
yeah.
you know. And that's sort of we talk about the negative aspects of ego, that pain body. Said that's the navigation problem that we get stuck in because the pain body gets quite a bad rap,
Mm.
and probably because it has the ability to destroy everything good in your life.
Yeah.
There's a lovely there's a thing in Buddhism. There's a teaching, and they say it, and I always love it because it's such a badass comment that when Sakyamuni Buddha reached enlightenment, he said architect of my own destruction, I see your face. And
Mm.
it's like there's a mic drop moment for you
Yeah.
because it said in that it's just like there's the separation. It's just like bang, you're the pain body
Yeah.
and this is me. And that's where all the power is. That's the absolute power. So the pain body is not really bad. It's just it has a different agenda.
Mm.
So its agenda is to keep you safe. And
Yes.
that's the big thing. Once we get our head around that, we understand really what's going on because the safety, because it's basically a big part of the pain body is your subconscious, and your subconscious is still running around, hunting animals with spears. So the issue with that is like you imagine you get up, you survive the night, you get up, you walk out in the daylight, you look out your cave, and everything looks the same.
Mm.
That's okay. right? But if you get up and you walk out of your cave and that bush over there is rustling,
Yeah.
it's like that's not okay. That I don't know what's
Yeah.
in there, but it's probably going to eat me.
Mm.
So, so when something's different, that's terrifying. So the pain body's like, I need to keep you safe. So you can't change. Nothing, nothing that changes your life can come in because if you do that, that's threatening. But it's threatening to the pain body. It's not threatening to the soul. The soul requires that change constantly. So this is where the conflict arises, is that we have those two parts of us at war. And that's the old, we've got an angel on one shoulder and a devil on
Yeah,
the
and the
other.
devil on the other. But which we get the choice of choosing who to listen to. And it's like it happens to me when I'm having a quantum shift, I get sick. Like I'll get like a cold or a flu or something like that. Or I'll get a pain in my body somewhere. And I just know it's my pain body going, Emma, you're about to change and we don't want you to. So I'll rest for that day. I'll cancel my day, I rest my day. And I literally nurture myself. I nurture that pain body, go, it's okay, baby girl, we're okay. And I'll do something. This is a really good top tip for everyone out there. So I've been writing this book and I'm like really delving into it. It's around relationships. And on Monday, I was very, very busy, but I woke up, I felt like death. Like I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I couldn't move. I went, I know what this is. This is my pain body, So I canceled my day. I rescheduled my beautiful clients and I sat in bed and went, well, you know what? We're sick. It's okay. We're going to do this anyway. So I opened my laptop and it didn't matter what I wrote. I just had to type anything about relationships. It didn't necessarily have to go in my book, but I had to let my pain body know this is going to be our new okay now, our new normal now. It's okay. We're safe. We're in bed. I had Netflix on. I've got a cup of tea. I've got the cat and the dog on the bed. I'm safe. I'm good. I'm happy as a pig in shit. So I had to sit there and go, it's okay, pain body. I'm okay. We can still write this and feel shit and be good and all the things, and then on Tuesday I woke up, nothing wrong with. I actually on Monday had a COVID test because I literally thought I had COVID. Tuesday I woke up, not a problem. Nothing wrong with me. So on my clients Wednesday, no problem. Kept typing, even if it was just a sentence, even if it was just over, mind you, Jason taught me all this, right? Even just reading over what I've written, I'm still in that frequency of my book and letting my pain body know it's okay. It's okay. Because I remember in year 8, I failed year 8 twice, everyone, by the way. So I remember in my year 8, I had a huge contract that I had created in my head around writing. And it came from this event. I was in year 8 and it was my first year 8 and I was just lost. I didn't understand anything. I was completely lost in class. And I just literally sat at the back, looked out the window and just daydreamed. And there was this teacher, her name was Mrs. Keogh. And we had to write this essay. And if your essay got read out in class, it was a really huge deal. Like your essay was the best essay. So I'm 13 and Mrs. Keogh, she's handed out all the essays, but she hasn't handed mine out. Now, I was an E student, a D student. In religion and drama, I was an A student. Go figure. So, so I'm sitting there. I'm going to read Emma Mortimer's letter out. And so essay out. So she read it and it was about a robot who does your homework and then does this. And I was a tennis player and he throws tennis balls and collects them. It was this robot literally did all my chores for me, right? And it was a cool essay. It was good. It was exciting and it was, it was sad in some spots because the robot has to die and all this stuff. And she's reading it. And at the end, and I'm like, this is the greatest moment of my life. Like I wrote this is it. This is the greatest moment of my life. I never got ribbons or gold stars. I never got any of that. I was just sitting the kid in the back. So she reads it. The class starts clapping. Yay, Emma, that's awesome. She holds it up in the air and she goes, this is rubbish. Stop clapping, Emma, get out of my class. And she ripped it up and she threw it on the ground. So I'm in complete shock, complete and utter shock. So I've walked outside, I've sat on the top stairs, and I am beside myself. I am like, I'm not crying. I'm like guttural crying. I'm like hiccuping and all of this. I'm sobbing my eyes out. And I decided, I sat on that step and looked up to God. I went, God, I will never put pen to paper again. And I didn't. So I failed that year 8. I did a second year 8. I failed it because I didn't even write my name on a piece of paper. Did year 9, failed it, didn't write my name on a piece of paper. Did year 10, the same. They went, she's no good here. Then I did secretarial school 11 and 12. And guess what? There was no pen and paper. It was all on computers and typewriters. So I got A's. But I wrote, like, my pain body at that time decided my future. And it was crazy. And I sit there and I made it so safe and normal never to write. I made it so safe and normal for me. And this is where I've got to go, that's not safe and normal anymore. Let's make something else safe and normal for you. And you got to look back and go, it's okay. It was a one moment. The whole moment probably took about 5 to 6 minutes. But I kept that moment, that 6-minute moment, stretched out from the age of 13 all the way to 50 fucking 2. Like, how much power was I giving that moment for that bitch to do that to me, right? And it's all the pain body. And this is where I really urge everyone listening, think of that moment where something really hard happened. How long have you actually made it for? Like, there's so many tragic things that happen to all of us. Believe me, that's not the most tragic, probably the most easiest. But how much do we stretch that moment into covering the rest of our lives? Why do we give it so much power? Why do we say, no, I can't have a relationship because I was married to a narcissist before? Or, oh, I can't get on stage because I've got stage fright. Since when? Who told you that? Why are you believing it? Oh, because it happened when I was 15. Yeah, but you were 15. What about now? It's like when people have anxiety and depression. I've had it for 20 years. How do you know? Have you really got it? Or did you just have it back then and someone convinced you that now you've got it for the rest of your life? This is all pain body stuff. And this is where, when you get to work with people, like, this is why I work with Jason. I sit there and I go, right, let's heal the pain body and let's look after the soul. Let the soul do the work. Let the soul come in and, like, live this life. It's so big. It's so big. So I just went on a rant then. Sorry, Jason, you can go ahead now.
No, that's all right. I like a good rant, as you know.
Yes. Your turn. I'll have 5 year. I'll let you tap out now. Pass the baton.
It's so important though. It's like, Emma, the big thing there, I think that's where people really get stuck, is that they don't identify that everyone around them is also identified with the pain body.
Yes.
So if you knew
Yes.
that, how different that would be. It's like that teacher, on one level, if you were sitting on that step and somebody sat down next to you, say you had an entrepreneur visiting, right? And he's walking in the school and he sits down and he looks at you and he says, what's going on? And you say, what's going on? And he said to you, hey, how many books has she written?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fuck her. Who cares what she thinks? And walked off.
Exactly.
It
Exactly
would have
right.
changed your whole life.
Yeah.
But that's the
Yeah.
thing, we don't, because everyone's sitting there. And that's one of the big things, because it's like authority. Authority is such a big factor, and it's got to do with, like, power. So it's all about power. So we really are messed up on the idea of power. We look at force, which is the ability to compel others. And we look at that and we say that's power. But it's not. Power is the ability to act. So if you have the ability to act, you're in your power. And ultimately, the way it works, it's kind of like stacked. Like, where you see you know, where you see like people make those champagne towers and they stack up all the glasses and they pour the champagne in the top and it flows from one down, down, down,
Mhm.
down cascades, right? Well, that's kind of like how power works in your life. So that glass at the top, that's got to be you. It's got to be you.
Mm.
And you've got to pour enough of that energy into that it overflows. And then from there, it moves to your most significant other, into your business, like your family, your
Mm.
business, your friends, all those things. It has to flow out that way. But what happens to us in those moments with authority, what we do is we put ourselves in like level 6 and we put that teacher in level 1. And
Yep.
throughout the rest of our life, we go up and down that scale, but we always just, we might be number 2. It's that thing, it's that awful thing. And I think we've all had that where we realize that we're not the hero in our story. Is that we're best case scenario, we're supporting actor. And often
Yeah.
we're just we're that guy in the background, that guy in the
The
background holding a
tree.
coffee. So that's what it is. And when we realize that, said often what we do is we use that to justify going deeper in. The pain body goes, that's right, it's so safe. And you go, yeah, it's safe. Because if I think about what it means, I have to take ownership for the 30 years I've been sitting at that in the background holding a coffee cup. And all
Yes.
those opportunities, all those opportunities that I didn't take, all those relationships, all those things I wanted to say, you know,
I love that you said this because what happened to me when I realized this, it was a couple of years ago because I did some collaborative books to get out of this fear of writing a book with Maven Press. And a couple of years ago, and I sat there and I did the wrong thing, guys. I realized why it was so hard for me to write my chapter in these books. And it was like this, I'm like, what the fuck? When did I make this decision that I couldn't do this? Like, I talk in front of thousands of people. I'm like, I'm writing programs. And then what is it about a book? I was like, it's that moment. And then I went into this pity party, right? And I was like, oh my God, I've let this thing, the shame file, right? I sat in my shame. I went, I mean, you just fucked it up again. Like, stop it. When you have these massive realizations and you go, oh shit, that moment I made a decision that I won't do this. Once you realize it, you can feel bad and sad about it for 5 minutes. That's all I'm giving anyone. But you can't go in a pity party about it because all you're doing is you're just playing the part again, but as a different character.
yeah,
Right? So instead of having the red dress on, you're going to put a purple one on. Don't do that. You don't, no, not allowed, right? Jason and Emma said, right? So you're not allowed to go in your pity party about it. Go in your massive, thank fuck I know this now.
yeah,
Thank fuck I know this now. Because I'm telling you, most people die without knowing it.
yeah.
And as most people know, I just buried my beautiful grandfather 2 weeks ago. He was 94. And I buried my grandmother 18 months ago at 100. They did not know. They didn't know. They didn't know that that they could get over things. They didn't know that they could heal from things. They were just victim mode the whole time. And I look at that and go, so what if it took me 52 years? It's better than no years. It's better than 80 years. It's better than 90 years. It's better than it's better than on my deathbed. I'd much rather know it now. So no one's allowed to go on their pity party when they find out they've been victim to some crappy fucking dickhead in the past. All right.
Mm.
Awesome. Okay.
Can I say something there?
Definitely.
One of the things that's really important about that is it's important to understand cultural identity.
Mm.
And because cultural identity is really poisonous. Like if you want to destroy good things in your life, right? You just stick with cultural identity because it
Yeah.
will just box you in so neatly. And the problem is, if you're interacting with a culture, said, well, you're gonna cop it everywhere.
Yeah.
My daughter had an accident yesterday. She fell and broke her ankle.
Oh,
And yeah, so
Your
we
older
ended
one or
up
your youngest one?
elder one, elder one.
Oh, Jason.
So that was our evening.
That was exciting.
So yeah. So, but it's interesting. But it was when we were dealing with it because the thing she has Prader-Willi syndrome. So there's a lot of aspects to that, but one of the aspects of it is um, high pain threshold. So when they tell you that it's like because they've had cases where people have really been in a bad way because someone will be a little bit grumpy. They're like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, I don't feel all right." You sure? Yeah, okay. That'll go on, go on, go on for days, and then suddenly they'll collapse, and they'll get an ambulance and get them, and they go, "Wow, their appendix burst 3 days ago,"
Oh my
or
goodness.
is their pain threshold? So
Yeah.
she broke her ankle, it's, and I'm laughing, but I'm not. I mean, the poor Bali,
He's laughing
but
because otherwise he might cry. That's why.
yeah, that's pretty much it. But from the moment, what was really interesting about it was, is that I used to do support work, a lot of support work, and working in particularly in facilities that were built for vulnerable long-term homeless. So when you're in those environments, like you get everything, and I have called more ambulances and police than you can imagine.
Yeah, man.
And so it's just that you just go into that thing. So when I looked at it, I said, okay, we got to. I couldn't see it. It didn't come up as a bruise or anything else like that. It was just like, but she's saying she's in pain, right? We're in an ambulance and she can't get up. So I've just gone into that mode, very calm. You go through your details, you hold it all still, you do all that. But then when I managed to get her up and we got her up and got her properly dressed and set up and then took her in the car because ambulance, okay, that's going to be 2 hours, right? It's going to be a
Oh,
minimum of 2 hours. And it's like, this is not okay. So got her in the car, drove her in. Now when we drove in, and I'm talking to her the whole thing, because as we're talking, part of what I'm doing is I'm trying to prepare her for her pain body to deal with this.
yeah.
So I don't want her to walk into that and have all the power taken away and she get caught in absolute victim mode.
Yeah.
So, because that's what you got to do, because that's part of that cultural reinforcement. So I said, okay, what we're going to do, I said, this is going to sound weird, but we're going to stop at Woolies on the way. And I'm going to run in, I'm going to get you a bottle of water, I'm going to get you some protein bars, I'm going to get all this, because we could be sitting there for 4 hours. You
Yeah.
know, you got your phone, you got your headphones, you want books, okay, we're cool. So we got our bag of stuff,
That's
right?
so
And we go
good.
in. And then the beautiful thing about it, by not being in that frequency, you get into victim mode. Suddenly your frequency's down. So everything slows, everything's crappier. Um, but we're not. We're in a good space. We're holding it still. We walked in there, we sat down, we're like, okay, no worries. I got a car park really close. I got
Because
um
you're in a frequency.
that's it. The
Yeah.
process really fast. We're sitting down there. I'm sitting down with her, and I think we sat there for about 8 minutes, and then suddenly it was like, yeah, come in through, and away we went, and we did all that. And when they realised they had to put a cast on it, we had to do all that, and they had to keep her in overnight. Um, so but we just went through that whole process. But it was just like, you're not in shock anymore. You're all good. Past that, would you like something to eat? That's all right. We're sitting there and we're just chatting. We're doing all that. It's all a big adventure. And she's doing that. And then away we go. And then I leave and I go home and, I get back here about midnight. And it's sort of,
God.
we do all that thing. But the thing about it is, and this is what I mean about this cultural identity, is that if you walk into a place like that and everybody's stressed, right? And you start to identify with that energy, then suddenly your frequency plummets. And now you've handed all of your authority, all your power
Mm.
directly to everyone else in that room. And you're now in effect of them. You've lost the ability to be cause. So it's just all your power bleeds away, and now you're getting what you get, whatever they give you. And it's the same, we do it all the time. But there's a beautiful thing about it. And one of the cultural identities is like you gotta hustle when you're 20.
Mm.
You say, like, it's like uh if you look at like YouTube at the moment, or at least when I look at YouTube, right, I see different bits and pieces. But one of the things that's come up that I found really fascinating is that you've got all these guys having these arguments about gender in America,
Oh,
and
yeah.
not just the transgender thing, but the whole, which is just that's huge. But
Mm-hmm.
it's this idea about where people's high value man and high value women and all this, and this idea that it's like, okay, if you're a woman and you're in your 20s, so that's peak, and if you're a guy, then you got to grind. You got to grind because you got to be a high value man. And if you're not a high value man by the time you're like 30, you said you're screwed.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
yeah, I always like the classical Chinese model. They look at it and they say, all right, you're approaching peak at 50. At 55 to 65 is peak. Because after 65, even though your wisdom increases, your physical capacity diminishes.
Mm.
So that period of sort of 55 to 65, that's when you've got the best combination of physical ability and brains to be able to
Mm.
do something of value with your life. And that's the model I work with. And I've watched this with a lot of people. I've observed this. And I know my father, the same thing. He said it's interesting. I turned 50, well, I'm nearly 52 now. But I remember when I woke up at 50, and it was literally when I woke up at 50, I woke up and I was a different person. And I couldn't explain it, but it was just like, yeah, and I'm just a different person. This is better. This is a better
Same,
person.
same here. It was so
Yeah,
weird. I literally woke up because I've never felt different. And I woke up at 50 and went, this is different. This is
yeah,
better. I
yeah,
really love being in my 50s.
yeah.
I do. I love
45.
it. I love being in my 50s. And people say to me, especially as a woman, they say, oh, you're so brave telling people your age. I mean, I'm surprised I got past my fucking 20s, mate. Like, I'm.
That's
Do
right.
you know what I did to this body?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, I'm so proud to be in my 50s. But yeah,
Yeah.
I felt different too. I like that model. I like that.
It's a
That's good.
it's a powerful model.
It really is. It is. It is a
Yeah.
powerful model. You know, I want to speak to you more. I might actually grab you onto another podcast another time because I want to talk to you. My favorite thing to talk about is frequencies and how to get really what you want and what you need in this world by using frequencies instead of forcing something, right?
Yeah.
I would love to. I'm asking him now, so he can't say no in front of all you guys, right? So I would love to do another podcast with you, Jason, if you're okay with that,
Of course.
about frequencies and I think a really big pull for people is to learn how to magnetize or how to create money.
Yeah.
Right. And there's something I want to tell you about this. You and I are talking about this the other day, I'm sure, but it's about creation and magnetizing. Even when you're magnetizing something, you got to create the person you need to be to magnetize that thing. So you got to think, guys, we're always in our soul level when we are in creation level. And that's where you want to be. Who do you want to be? Like, even if you're not doing any work today, get up and go, like, even if you're not working at all, but you're home or something, like, what do I want to create today? Do I want to create a space where I feel loved? Do I want to create a space where I can go for a walk? That's still creation. And then whatever you create, you will get more of what you create. I think we
Yeah.
need to do a podcast on that one.
Sure.
All right. Jason, thank you so much for today. That was amazing. This is Jason Parks. Jason, what's your website? How can people find you?
It's thelifeprinciple.com.au.
That's
And
thelifeprinciple.com.au. Thank you.
that's it. Yeah. And
I'll
I
put that
have,
in the thing. And you are?
yeah. I was just going to say, there's a thing on there that is like a mailing list.
Mm.
They said if people are interested in what I do, they need to get on that mailing list because I don't advertise at all.
No,
So
he does not.
no.
He does
So
not. And you can't stalk him either because I tried. these are all just referral based. It's funny because I do these big trainings, as people know, and I, do a lot of mentoring. And what I do now is I actually get, when somebody signs up for me, I say, you need to see Jason as well. So they sign up to me and they'll get support where we both see these clients. It's amazing. It actually works beautifully. So it's very, very, very cool. But Jason was referred to me. And I'm on Facebook, I'm on everywhere trying to find this guy. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I actually didn't know what Jason looked like until this year.
Yeah,
When he
right.
came and did Family Freedom Protocol Masters. Yeah. It was like the first time. It was so good. It was so good to actually freaking see you physically and be able to give you a hug. It was so nice. It was so good. All right. Jason, did you want to say anything else before we go, or are you good?
No, I'm all good. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, guys. Guys, we love you. This will be everywhere. Please comment on Facebook or in YouTube. Tell me what you feel. Tell me what you think. I'll put Jason's details there for you anyway, so you can get on his mailing list. I feel that it's an important thing for you guys to do. Like, it's an important step for your future you to get onto Jason's mailing list. I really believe that. Thank you, everybody. We love you. See ya.